Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm going to break down for you today Neville Goddard's Law of Assumption so that this video will prove to you that you can actually get it this time, and also why the Law of Assumption really does exist and how to use it to your best advantage. Let's get straight to it. The Law of Assumption, in essence, really isn't about wishing and hoping for something that you want someday out there. It's about stepping into the mindset that you have it already, that you're seeing your end goal completed or finished, that you've already achieved it, that you're living as though it's already part of your reality, even though you're still in your reality. Might seem hard to do. When I started my first company in my 20s, it was a tech training company. I actually had a vision for that company. I saw it. I just saw it, and I went for it on a shoestring. But I could see it in my head. I knew it would work. Here's the trick. I had no idea how. I hadn't even started anything yet. Hadn't even written a business plan yet. Hadn't started a thing, but I saw it clearly. I saw my beautiful office space. I saw computers around me. I saw myself in a team of people helping staff members of large corporations to learn how to use the latest technology. I could see it all. I could see the paychecks I was writing and signing for my employees. I saw all of that even before I finished my business plan. And you know what happened? I started and it worked. I kept it in my head. It started just as solo me, and it grew one baby step at a time, one contract at a time, one next phase of needing my first staff member, of realizing how was I going to pay for that, needing my first facility, my first classroom, and then the next classroom, and then the next facility. And I moved my company 3 times until I was in the 4th or 5th year in my ultimate beautiful space that I had envisioned, with the color scheme and the logos and all of the people around and everything. It all happened. And then I sold it after I achieved it. I got what I wanted, and I did what I wanted to with that goal and dream. And I started another company the second time, again, the same way, totally different goal. And I use the law of assumption and the law of attraction and all kinds of manifesting principles that I teach on this channel to be successful. And I also have used these principles, including the law of assumption, to get over grief and loss. Heck, without these principles, I honestly might not even be here, because it shifted my mindset into being able to create my reality, get out from where I was to where I could see myself wanting to be. Well, Neville Goddard suggests that every night before you go to sleep, when you're just reaching that point of dozing off, your beta waves, delta waves are transitioning your brain into that sleep state, that before that sleep state, this is when you visualize what it is you most want. And when you actually visualize and think about your goal or your desire, imagining that it's already done. It's already here for you. You've completed it. You've achieved it. You're seeing it. You're breathing it. You're owning it. You're falling asleep to this. That during this going to sleep state is when your mind is the most suggestive. So why not put into your mind that which is most in your heart and your deepest desires? Those important goals, those important milestones that you're working to achieve in your life. That's when your mind is suggestive and your subconscious can most allow all of that to be thought over and mulled over and pondered over while you sleep, so that when you wake up, you're believing it more and more. The ideas that we go to sleep with tend to take root in the nighttime in our subconscious. So that it stands to reason, doesn't it, that the more you focus on a finished goal at that sleep time, the faster you will be able to achieve and create that goal in your outer reality. Well, you say, how can we know this really works or the law of assumption is real? Well, there's proof. The unseen drives everything in this world. We were taught that things we could not see, we couldn't believe, that the unseen is somehow taboo. Concepts like the law of assumption or attraction are woo-woo or weird. Well, yet people believe in the unseen by the billions every single day. If you're a person of faith, then you believe in the unseen. And the realms of the unseen are where the magic and miracles happen. There's billions of people believing in the unseen and defending it vehemently, and yet they struggle with understanding the law of assumption. Is it really so hard to believe that any idea cannot possibly come into reality, physical reality, unless it first originated in somebody's mind, in their imagination? And in that imagination comes the ideas and the ability to create what you want in the physical world. Nothing happens without action, but the law of assumption will expedite your goals. And here's how. Have you ever thought about the fact that everything in life was one time was completely invisible? It didn't even exist. Airplanes, cars, even smartphones, and all the technology we have in the world today. It never existed. It started with the law of assumption. Somebody thought it up and assumed they would make it happen. They saw the end result as a final goal. Now, along the way to achieving that goal, they may not know the how-to. Frequently, we don't. We just know we have an idea. We're going to work on creating it in our lives, but we know it can do it. We can see it. We can see it in the end. And so the how is not important when you're at the beginning or you're in the process of creating something using the law of assumption. You're just really going to assume that this is the way it's going to be. And then that's where you are helped along the way through all of the other ideas, spiritual laws, people, connections, coincidences, all of the activity that brings that goal into fruition. When I was 5 years old, I recall sitting on this little platform porch thing we had in the backyard, and I had a table knife in my hand, and I was looking at it, wondering, how did this get here? Who made it? I wonder whose idea it was that originated in their head first. And somehow here it is in my hand in creation. I guess I was always a curious kid. When you think about Thomas Edison, when he was working on the light bulb, he saw it. He assumed he was going to be able to create this. He didn't know how. He didn't know how many times it was going to take, how many tries, how much resistance he was going to have. But he saw it. And he created it. He assumed it was going to happen, and he kept going until it did. He worked through thousands of failures because in his mind, the end already existed. And thankfully for us, it did, or we might still be living in the dark. The unseen world is the only true place possibility exists. That's where our ideas come from, after all. Imagination is just the place where ideas sprout and are born before they're brought into physical reality. But if we can't see what we're going for, how can that dream ever get there? Think about Steve Jobs. Who could have imagined that a single small device could be in our hands that would take on so many tasks in life? A GPS, a camera, a music player, a stereo system. I mean, who knew? And people didn't know they needed it because they couldn't imagine it, but Steve Jobs did. And lo and behold, he created it in our lifetime. He didn't say about the iPhone, oh, I can't see it, so therefore it must not be real. No, he lived under the assumption that it was possible. He saw the vision in the end. He assumed and lived with that goal in mind, and he created it. I was kind of fortunate in the late 1980s. I worked with Apple. I became an authorized Apple training provider, one of only 12 in the whole nation. And I was privileged to spend some time in Cupertino, California, and did get to see a video from that era that was Steve Jobs showing the vision of this small little device that one could hold in their hand that would be the computer of the future. And his video included some other pretty far out ideas of the time, including holographic images. He created it through his imagination, and he changed the world. He changed the world more than once. That's how the law of assumption works. Steve Jobs assumed in his mind, he saw it. He assumed it was going to happen, and he made it happen. Without the image, without the imagination, without the assumption that he would succeed, that this was his vision, the iPhone would never have been born. We might still be stuck back on little flip phones, for all we know. And faith is no different. Faith is the belief in a higher power. Whatever your faith is, think about this: faith in love, faith in a relationship, faith in another person, faith in God. If you're willing to believe in faith, then why wouldn't you be willing to bank on the law of assumption like Neville Goddard's brother did. If you haven't seen that story, his brother Victor, you might be interested in that video. I'll put a link because it proves and shows what the law of assumption really looks like, even with big things, even with impossible things, even against all odds. So it's not weird. It's natural. It's normal. It's simply how things get created in our life by envisioning first, believing in it, assuming it from the beginning, having the vision in the end, and making that assumption. It's just going to happen. It's just the way it is. And here's the thing. The law of assumption is not just about visualizing, especially in the nighttime during that falling off to sleep time, which is your best bet. It's also about getting into the feeling state as much as you can. The more that you feel passionate about something, and you know this, the more you feel passionate about something, the more drawn to it you are, and the more it draws itself to you as well. So the more you can get into that feeling state of really believing and knowing when you're assuming this at night, whatever your vision is, the faster and the deeper and richer it's going to go in your subconscious. It's really quite simple. It's kind of going back to just being childlike when we had imaginations before they were squashed by society or parents. And we used to dream crazy dreams. We used to have big dreams. We loved imagining, and we could see things in the end. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a fireman. And you saw yourself as a fireman, as a teacher, a doctor, and a lawyer. It was really that simple. It's the same thing now with your goals and dreams. We're more blocked now. It takes a little more practice. We have to get out of our own ways and allow this to happen in our lives. Give yourself a chance to really, whether it's lighting a candle before bed, although you don't want to leave a candle on while you're sleeping, an electric or battery operated one, or soft music as you go off to sleep, and give yourself that vision. Allow yourself to actually create the vision. You might not even have the vision yet, but the more you give yourself that 5 or 10 minutes while you're drifting off, instead of just thinking about your day and ruminating about your problems and what you have to do tomorrow, instead reshift and focus those thoughts while your eyes are closed and you're going to sleep on what you'd really love to see happening in your world. And let your mind, night after night after night, have that vision. Keep creating the details. And as you do this more and more, you fill in more and more details too. It becomes kind of easy and fun, actually. And the neat thing about it is when you do wake up in the morning, somehow you feel better. When we drift off to sleep and we're not in a worried state of mind, but we're relaxed and we're thinking about something positive and something we really want to have happen for us, you wake up feeling so much better in the morning than when you went to sleep worried. So the law of assumption is helping you with so many things, really, anxiety and stress and all of that too, because you're giving yourself permission to dream again, to see that vision in the end and allow it to go to work for you in the easiest of ways, which is while you're drifting off, while you're focused in a good, positive light, while you're taking that time to honor who you are and what you really would like to become tomorrow and the next day by already assuming you're there. You're there already. You're there. You've achieved it. And when you can see it that clearly and feel it that succinctly, it can't help but go into motion to start happening. Now, yeah, it does need to be something you really, truly want in life, or it'll just fizzle out and die off. But if you choose to go ahead and use this law of assumption each and every night, try it out for a week. Try it for 3 nights and see how different you feel. And then you'll get hooked and you'll want to keep going to bed that way. Try to have good sleep hygiene and get to sleep and allow yourself to go into that little state before you drift off. It's love. It's heavenly. It not only feels wonderful, but you're producing the outer results in your world that you really want. I have seen this happen in my life 1,000 different times and ways. I've been using these laws since I was in my late 20s. And every time I get stuck in life, I realize, I've gotten off track. And I go right back in to many different manifesting methods, including focusing on the law of assumption when it's something I'm really working hard on and I really want more than anything in my heart of hearts. It sets the tone for your day, for your life, for your tomorrow morning. And it's so simple and it's free. And you don't need any equipment. There's nothing you need. Just your imagination and your willingness to try. Remember basic principles. If you go around and you're constantly having the thoughts that you will never have the money you want, then guess what? You just won't. It's so true. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Either way. So if you're trying to create love in your life or financial abundance or better health, start with envisioning it from a finished state and then work on this at night. What I just said, for just 5 or 10 minutes or 20, however long it takes you to drift off to sleep. Sometimes I don't get to sleep really fast and I'll keep going. I'll also ask sometimes when I am feeling a little blocked about having a vision get filled in, so to speak, like missing all of the elements of it. Part of this is also helping you to create that vision. And I will keep at it until I see the vision realized in full form. That is all this is about, friends. Most people stay stuck because they're waiting for proof before they believe it. It's not the way it works. You have to believe it first, and then you get to see it. It's like Wayne Dyer always said, believe it, and then you'll see it. But most people don't think that way. They think, oh, show it to me first, then I'll believe it. That's not even true for faith. What you cannot see is where the truth lies. If the Wright brothers had waited for proof, we would not have airplanes. When you start living as though you're assuming it's already yours, then opportunities that otherwise might not have crossed your path start to show up. That is the fact, and that's where manifesting is magical. Uncanny things happen when you put yourself in this energy vortex, in this intimate field of possibility, where the fun lives, where life begins, where all of your problems have the opportunity to gain answers. And the blanks can be filled in by some force other than ourselves. Don't ask me how that works. I just know that it does. Trust me on this. I know that it does. I've seen it time and time and time again in my own life. And you might be someone thinking, oh, never mind, it's too late for me. It might be fine for you to think this way, but I'm not going to do it. Let me just tell you, it is never too late to start a new dream. I'm 63 and starting over again, and it is just never too late. I could have just said, nobody wants to listen to me on YouTube. I'm too old. If you take away one thing on this video today, think of this. You don't see it because you believe it. You see it when you believe it. You might want to write that down. Stop waiting for the proof. Stop telling yourself these things are not real and people like me are wacky out here who believe this stuff and talk about it publicly on YouTube. You're missing out, my friend. You're missing out on the magic that can make your life so much easier if you get consistent and you try some of these principles. If you like this one, the law of assumption needs to be there in the mix of everything. I like doing it at night because it's easy. But I have got a playlist on manifestation and Neville Goddard and Bob Proctor and others that you're welcome to look at some of these specific exercises. And I have shared some of the miracles that have occurred in my world that you might learn something from and be inspired by. Everything I do share has actually happened. You've had many miracles too. Maybe you didn't frame them or realize that they are. So what are you assuming today? Is it maybe time to change some of those assumptions to get a clearer vision, a better end vision? Make a comment and tell me what you'd like to work on. If you enjoyed this episode, my friend, you might enjoy my playlist on manifestation. I do have a free newsletter called Shift Your Vibe that you might really enjoy as well. That link is in the comment. It's all free. Thank you for watching today from Sparky and me. We'll see you in the next one.